Hi, everyone. Welcome to Lingodots Podcasts. Today, we're talking about someone very special, Albert Einstein.
Yes, Albert Einstein is one of the smartest people in history. His ideas changed the way we see the world.
That's right. But did you know he was also a curious boy who loved to ask questions?
He was. Albert's love for learning and his big ideas made the world better. Stay with us to hear his story.
And don't forget to subscribe to Lingodots Podcasts. Let's begin.
Albert Einstein was born on March 14, 1879 in Germany. His parents were Hermann and Pauline, a kind and caring couple. They wanted the best for Albert, but life was not easy for them.
That's true. Hermann worked with his brother in a small business. They made electric machines, but the business did not do well. 6 weeks after Albert was born, the family moved to Munich. They hoped for a better life there.
Pauline's family helped them with some money to start again. Albert also had a little sister named Maria. She was born 3 years after him. The two of them played together as children.
Albert was curious from a young age. He liked learning about the world around him. Pauline loved music, and she wanted Albert to love it too. When he was 5 years old, she started teaching him the piano.
He even learned the violin later. Music became very special to him. He once said, "If I were not a scientist, I would be a musician."
That's a beautiful thought. It shows how much music meant to him. His early years were simple, but full of learning and love.
Yes, those early days shaped the great man he became later.
Albert started school when he was 6 years old. He went to a Catholic school in Munich. Even though he was Jewish, the school accepted him.
That's nice, but Albert didn't love school. The teachers were very strict, and the lessons were not fun for him. He wanted to ask more questions and think freely.
Yes, but Albert worked hard, especially in math. He liked numbers more than any other subject. When he was 12 years old, he started learning harder math, like algebra.
His father helped, too. He often brought Albert books about math and science. Albert loved reading them. He wanted to know how the world worked.
That's true. His family even found him a tutor, Max Talmud. Max gave Albert more books about math and science. Albert finished them very quickly.
I heard Max gave Albert a geometry book once. Albert liked it so much that he finished the whole book on his own. After that, he studied even harder topics like calculus.
By the time Albert was 14, he had learned all the calculus he needed. He was very smart, but he still didn't enjoy school.
That's because he wanted to learn his own way. School rules felt too strict for him, but his love for math and learning never stopped.
Even though Albert loved learning, he didn't like school in Munich. The teachers were very strict, and he felt they didn't let him think freely.
That made him unhappy. When Albert was 15, his family moved to Italy, but Albert stayed behind in Munich to finish school. He didn't like being alone and missed his family a lot.
He really didn't want to stay. So he got a note from a doctor saying he was too sick to study. With that, the school let him leave early, and he joined his family in Italy.
That was clever. After leaving school in Munich, Albert wanted to join a big school in Switzerland called the Swiss Federal Polytechnic. He passed the math and science tests easily.
But he failed in other subjects, like languages. The school told him to try again. A kind teacher helped Albert study these subjects so he could do better next time.
That's right. Albert went to a smaller school in a quiet town to improve his skills. He studied hard and passed all his tests after 1 year.
Finally, Albert joined the Swiss school. He was happy because now he could study what he loved most, math and science.
This shows that even if things are hard at first, we can succeed if we keep trying. Albert's love for learning helped him move forward.
While studying at the Swiss school, Albert met a girl named Mileva Maric. She was very smart and loved science, just like him. They became close friends.
Soon, they fell in love. But Albert's parents didn't like Mileva. They thought she was too old for him and from a different religion. They wanted him to leave her.
Albert didn't listen to them. He and Mileva stayed together. They wrote letters to each other when they were apart. In 1903, they got married and started their life together.
At the same time, Albert was trying to find a job. He wanted to be a teacher, but it was hard because many teachers didn't like him. He often disagreed with them in school.
After searching for months, Albert found a job at the Swiss Patent Office. His job was to check new ideas from inventors. It wasn't what he wanted, but it gave him time to work on his own ideas.
That's true. In 1905, Albert had his miracle year. While working during the day, he wrote 4 important papers at night. One of these papers had the famous equation.
This equation changed the world. It showed how a small amount of mass can create a huge amount of energy. Even today, people talk about it.
Yes, but back then, not everyone understood his ideas. Still, Albert kept working. He loved science and never gave up on his dreams.
Albert's big ideas started to get attention. Scientists in Europe began to talk about his work. They invited him to speak at meetings and share his thoughts.
That's when Albert's fame started to grow. In 1909, he left the Swiss Patent Office and got a teaching job at the University of Zurich. He was happy to focus only on science.
But his personal life was not so happy. Albert and Mileva often argued. He spent most of his time working, which made Mileva feel alone.
In 1914, Albert moved to Berlin for a new job. Mileva stayed behind with their 2 sons, Hans and Eduard. Their marriage ended soon after, and they got divorced in 1919.
That same year, Albert married Elsa, his cousin. Elsa helped him with his busy life and took care of him. Albert continued his work and became even more famous.
In 1921, Albert won the Nobel Prize for physics. It wasn't for his theory of relativity, but for his work on light and the photoelectric effect. He was very proud of this award.
After that, Albert traveled to many countries, like the United States and Japan. People wanted to hear him speak and learn from him.
Even though he was famous, Albert stayed humble. He said, "I am just a man who likes to ask questions." He wanted to inspire others to learn.
In the 1930s, life became dangerous for Albert in Germany. He was Jewish, and the Nazi Party hated Jewish people. They took away his job and home.
That's true. Albert left Germany with his wife, Elsa. First they moved to Belgium. Later in 1933 they sailed to America, where Albert started a new job at Princeton University.
In America, Albert worked on science and helped other Jewish scientists escape Germany. He also spoke against racism. He once said, "Racism is the worst disease."
He believed that science should help people, not hurt them. But during World War II, Albert warned the United States about a powerful new weapon. He feared that Germany might build it first.
Yes, he wrote a letter to President Roosevelt. This led to the building of the atomic bomb. Albert later felt very sad about this. He called it his greatest mistake.
After the war, Albert worked for peace. He wanted scientists to use their knowledge to make the world better, not worse. He believed learning could help people live in peace.
Even though Albert was famous, he lived a simple life. He spent his last years teaching and thinking about big questions in science.
Albert passed away in 1955 at the age of 76, but his ideas still inspire people today. He showed the world that curiosity and kindness can bring great change.
That's the story of Albert Einstein. He was a man full of big ideas and a love for learning. His work changed science forever.
Yes, and he also cared about people. Albert wanted the world to live in peace and use knowledge to make life better for everyone.
His story reminds us to stay curious and keep asking questions. Learning can help us grow and understand the world.
Thank you for listening to Lingo Dots podcasts. Don't forget to like this episode and subscribe to our channel.
And let us know whose story you want to hear next. See you next time.